Okay, so we're going to get started. So welcome to everybody who's tuning in live. And for those of you who are watching this afterwards via recording, welcome as well. So first of all, thank you to all of you for enlisting your support as a final round judge in the Big Ideas contest this year. We really appreciate it, and the contest wouldn't be possible without you. So thank you to all of you again. For those of you who I haven't met in person, my name is JC Jones, and I'm one of the coordinators here at Big Ideas. And I manage the outreach and coordination of judges and mentors. So you've probably heard from me via email over the past few months. I'm also joined here by Philip Denny, who will be manning our chat screen on the side. So for those of you who have questions, Philip, the program manager for Big Ideas, will be answering them in real time, or at the very least by the end of the session. And those of you who are watching the recording, you're welcome to send us your questions at bigideas@berkeley.edu, and we'll also follow up that way. So a few logistics before we get started with the actual training session. You should be able to add your questions on the chat bar on the right side of the YouTube screen if you're watching that way. There's also a handbook for final round judges on our judges page. So if you go to the bigideas.berkeley.edu website and click the participate option on the far right, there should be a judges resources page where you can find our handbook, a recording of this video, as well as a copy of the Prezi that I'll walk through. And any other questions you might have. There are frequently asked questions and contact information there as well. I will try to move relatively quickly through the training materials, since most of you are joining us as returning judges, either the pre-proposal round of this year's contest or from last year's contest. So for those of you who are new judges for the first time, as I said, feel free to follow up with any questions, and we'll make sure that we get you answers as soon as we can. So with that, I will get started with a quick presentation and share my screen with everybody. Okay, so again, welcome to the Final Round Judges training. We'll get started with a really quick overview of Big Ideas for those of you who are joining us. The contest was started in 2005, and as you know, it's an annual innovation contest. We include undergraduate and graduate students across 18 different universities by inviting them to address or to submit ideas that address pressing social challenges. The emphasis of our contest, unlike many others, is really on early stage ideation and innovation. So we encourage student teams at every stage of their earliest venture ideas to submit in the contest. And you'll find a diverse array from the very earliest of ideas from students who are getting on paper for the first time to more established ventures. We have 10 categories in this year's contest. The first is clean and sustainable energy alternatives. We have 4 finalists competing in that category this year. The second category is conflict and development, which is supported by the conflict and development team at Texas A&M. We have 5 finalists competing in that category. We also have a creative expression for social justice category each year. This year we have 3 finalists who are competing in that one. One of our newest categories is a food system innovations category that's supported by the UCOP and the Berkeley Food Institute. That was one of our most popular categories this year, and we have 8 finalists competing. Also, that category and several others you'll see along the list are open not just to Berkeley, but the entire UC system and our partner campuses with the HESN network. We have another category with the same eligibility called Global Health. We have 9 finalists competing in that one this year. That's our largest category. Improving Student Life is open to Berkeley students each year. We have 5 finalists competing there. We also have an Information Technology for Society category, which is very popular. That has 7 finalists this year. And for those of you who are judging in that category, we'll make sure that we tell you in more detail about this later, but there's a poster session that you'll hear about. Mobiles for Reading is another new category this year. That one is open to all of the 18 partner schools that we work with. We have 5 finalists in that one, and it's supported by the World Vision and All Children Reading Challenge. Open Data for Development is another category with 3 finalists in it, and our final category is called Scaling Up Big Ideas, and that's open to past winners who are looking to scale up and grow their ventures. And this year we have 6 finalists competing in that category. So for those of you who are judging, you'll be assigned to one of these categories and be asked to review all of the different final proposals for that. So the number of finalists will equal the number of proposals we're asking you to read. So judges are really important to the contest, as I mentioned before, for a couple of reasons. We really couldn't do this without judges each year. First, because they help us to identify the project that will advance and receive funding in the contest, and your opinion is really critical to that process. But more importantly, perhaps, is the value that judges' feedback provides to student teams. So you'll notice, and we'll talk through this in more detail later, that we ask each judge not just to score the proposals, but to provide substantive written feedback to the teams and how they can improve the idea and their implementation as they leave the contest. So this feedback is really, really critical, and we thank you in advance for your thoughtful insights. So a quick overview of the contest itself. Big Ideas is a year-long contest, so we start out the year in the spring semester with what we call our pre-proposal phase. So students worked hard all semester, attended to various events, and ultimately submitted a 5-page pre-proposal that was judged by many of you in late December of last year. From the pre-proposal round, judges helped us to determine finalists who we would invite to the full proposal phase, which is ongoing now. We kicked that off with a mentorship period in January. A few of you even participated as mentors or were invited to. And the mentors have been working with teams over the course of the last couple of months to expand upon their 5-page pre-proposal and pull that into a 10 to 15-page full proposal to submit on March 10th. So teams have all just submitted their final proposals, and that's sort of where we are now. So we're about to kick off our final round judging. With today's event, we'll get everybody prepared and make sure that you have all the resources you need. And then by tomorrow, we'll send you login information to the platform itself so you can get started on your reviews. And we'll ask all of our final round judges to complete their reviews by April 6th. So you'll have just under 4 weeks to review the proposals in your category, score them, and provide feedback on how the teams might be able to improve. And again, for those of you who are judging in the IT for Society category, we also have a poster session as part of the judging in that category, and that will be held on April 8th here on campus from 3 to 5 p.m. We'll be communicating with you separately about the details for that. But if you can mark that on your calendar, make sure you're saving the date and letting us know if there are any issues. In mid-April, we'll go ahead and notify teams of awards. And then there are several other events over the course of the rest of the semester where teams have opportunities to earn additional funding, and judges, mentors, and all of those who have been supporting us throughout the year can also help to support and celebrate with the teams as they find out about their award prizes. So we have a People's Choice Award video contest that will open in late April, and we invite the campus community and Big Ideas Network to vote on the pitches and videos that deserve additional funding. We have a grand prize pitch day event on April 28th here on campus, and we'll send all of you information and invite you to participate in that. It's a really, really fun event where we bring in folks around the country and give some of our most promising teams an opportunity to pitch in front of them. And then on May 5th, we have our Big Ideas Award celebration, which is really the grand finale of the year here on campus, where teams, mentors, judges, and other folks in the Big Ideas Network get together, celebrate the year, and learn a little bit more about ideas. So again, we'll be sending more information about those events to all of you, and we would love to have you participate. It's the most fun time of year here for Big Ideas, so we look forward to seeing many of your faces for those of you who are in the Bay Area. So a little bit of information about how we narrowed this down this year. We received approximately 200 pre-proposals in the first round, and the first round judges helped us to narrow that down to 55 finalists who were selected to advance in the competition. And as you saw, there are anywhere from 3 to 9 finalists per category. And that depends largely on how much funding is available for those categories, as well as how many students applied to them in the first place. So some of them are inherently a bit smaller, and some of them are much more popular. From there, we will solicit your support to help us narrow that down even further to 2 to 5 winners in each category. And the way that the awarding goes is we don't necessarily have set award amounts for each category. Rather, we try to distribute money to as many teams as we possibly can who we think have a promising idea. So this year we have up to $300,000 available for awards. The maximum award per team is $10,000, and on average, winning teams receive somewhere around $5,000. As I mentioned, there are opportunities for additional funding above and beyond that through the video contest, pitch day, and award ceremonies. And then just a note for judges that the awards Big Ideas gives are not, in fact, grants. They are prize money. So it's not conditional, and we're really awarding teams for their creative ideas and not necessarily the implementation of them. So for those of you who participated in the pre-proposal round, you'll recognize that many of the full proposal elements have stayed the same. A couple of notes before I walk through each of them. The full proposals, unlike the pre-proposals, are 10 to 15 pages in length. We encourage students to fall somewhere within that range. So judges do not have to read anything beyond 15 pages if they happen to be over. That shouldn't be considered. Another thing that we encourage teams to do is to make sure that they're including and incorporating all of this content, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in any specific format. So we encourage them to think about the best way to communicate and tell their story and their idea. And you may notice that each proposal looks a little bit different. They have slightly different section names, but the same content should be incorporated somehow. So each proposal will obviously have a title, and the reason this is significant to you is because this is how proposals are arranged in the WiseHive platform, which we'll walk through in a second. You'll also find when you log in addition to the title and the team's names and basic information, some summaries of the project. One of them will be a 50-word elevator pitch that we've asked each team to prepare, and the second one will be a 300-word summary of their project idea. This is significant to judges because this information is what teams have approved for us to share publicly. So the basic information that's here is something that can be shared, but the rest of the proposal is intended to be strictly confidential. So each proposal, no matter its format, should have some form of needs statement incorporated. And this is a section of the proposal where teams should be conveying background data and evidence on the need that they're attempting to address, whether that's research or statistics on the problem, on the community that they're attempting to serve, demonstrating that they understand the market that they're going to be entering, or summarizing the research that they've done in terms of what other efforts have been tried, how they've been successful, how they've fallen short, and how they can overcome those past experiences. Each proposal will also include some form of project description, and this is really the summary of how the project will work, what their goals are, and the intended impact that they hope to have. They should also summarize any challenges that they anticipate encountering upon implementation and address how they think that they can overcome those. And another note, since this is a big change for those of you who judged in the first round, the emphasis of the final round is really on viability and execution. We really want to understand how the teams are going to implement this and see that they're demonstrating that they've thought through that and have everything in place that they need in order for it to be successful. Whereas the first round was really emphasizing creativity. We do want to focus more on implementation here. And with that in mind, we have a new section in the full proposal round that wasn't incorporated before, and that's called Measuring Success. They may, again, call this something slightly different, but what we're really hoping for them to cover at some point in their proposal is how they will know if the project is successful 1 year from now. And the emphasis here is not necessarily on rigorous impact evaluation, though some of the teams have incorporated that. We really just want them to be able to explain how 1 year from now they'll be able to inform the decisions, determine if they were successful, and figure out their way forward. Each proposal should also include some form of timeline that describes specific activities that they're going to undertake in order to achieve the objectives they described earlier. And another note here is that just to give a sort of a common ground for each of the proposals and for judges to look at them on the same lines, we've asked teams to focus on the first year of implementation alone. So you'll notice that some teams go above and beyond that, and that's perfectly fine, but we really only asked them to consider year one. And so most of the timelines you see will be limited to that 1 year in scope. Every proposal should also include team bios, and what we ask teams to focus on here is that they are demonstrating to judges that they've identified the necessary skills to implement their project successfully. And so they should really be focusing on what each of their individual accomplishments and areas of expertise are and how they contribute to this idea in particular. like the timeline, we also ask teams to submit a budget that focuses on that first year of the project. We provide a template, so you may notice that many of the teams use this template, but they are welcome to reformat it or submit something else if there's another format that works better for them. But in any case, each budget should include some section that summarizes their projected expenses for the first year. And what we're looking for is, again, they've really thought through what all of those expenses will be and demonstrated to you that they've actually looked them up and calculated with some substantive sources exactly how much those things will cost. So they may include things like supplies, travel and transportation, personnel, and other project-related costs. We also ask them to include a section on projected revenues. So many of these teams are applying to contests other than big ideas or submitting grants or getting some kind of in-kind or matching funds to support and supplement what they get from the contest should they win. So this is a section for them to summarize some of those things to you. Before I move on to the judging criteria, just to note as well that Big Ideas teams are allowed to request a maximum of $10,000. And because this is an award and not a grant, the actual prize money that we give them isn't necessarily linked directly to their budget. It's really about their idea and how viable it is and how much we can award them for contributing it to the contest. So the judging criteria in the final round is a bit different than the pre-proposal round. So for those of you who participated then, this is something that you'll notice has changed. The number one criteria that we look at in the final round is viability. As I mentioned before, this is 40% of the total score. So we really, really are taking care to consider that in this round. We also do want to know how well each idea is addressing a pressing social need in the category that they're competing in. So that's 15% of the total score. Teams' demonstration that they have familiarity with the community or market that they're serving is another 15%. The budget is 10%. The section on measuring success is 10%. And because we do still value creativity, even if it's not the emphasis of this round, we award 5% for that and 5% for overall quality. So you may notice this is sort of flipped on its head from the pre-proposal round where we were really looking at creativity. Viability was more secondary. And then also I wanted to note that while it's helpful for you to keep these things in mind, the platform that we'll use and walk through in a second actually does these calculations for you. So all you need to do is answer the questions that we have on the judging scorecard, and we'll do the weighting in the background. So with that, we thought we would give you a quick tutorial of the online judging platform so that you have all the information you need to know to get started when we send out the link tomorrow. So a couple of quick notes. By tomorrow, we'll send each judge an email summarizing where all of these resources are, the category that they're in, and we'll also give you a link to our platform WiseHive, including login information. So what I'll do now is jump to that platform and take you through exactly how that will work once you have the link. So you'll get a link to WiseHive and you'll come to a screen that looks just like this. We'll be sending you your username and password via email. Your username will be your email address and we'll send you a unique password. So you'll be able to log in. And you'll open to a screen that looks something like this, which is sort of a landing page. The list that you'll find here will be all of the proposals that you're being asked to review. So depending on your category, there might be anywhere from 3 to 9 of them. They'll be organized, as I mentioned earlier, by name. So when you're ready to start any one given review, you can click on the name of that proposal, and it will open to a page that looks like this. So what you're seeing here on the summary page is the title, the elevator pitch that I mentioned, and also the 300-word summary, as well as a tab to the right of that that gives you access to the full proposal. As you're reviewing the proposals, you're welcome to read them here in the platform, or you can also find the Save File button on the top right and download them to your desktop if that's easier, or if you'd like to print them. Again, we do ask that you keep these confidential if you do decide to download them. The teams are competing in the contest with the understanding that everything that they submit is confidential, so we can't really stress enough how important that piece of it is. So once you've read the proposal and you're ready to begin a review, you'll see the Add Review button here in green, and you can click on that. And this will bring you to the full proposal judging scorecard. So again, those of you who participated in the pre-proposal round, you'll recognize this looks very similar, but the questions have changed somewhat, and the weighting, as I mentioned before, has changed drastically. So the first thing on the scorecard that you need to note is that there's a privacy policy at the top, and again, this just stresses the confidentiality of each of the proposal ideas, and so before you can submit, you have to agree to that privacy policy. The rest of the scorecard is a combination of quantitative and qualitative questions. So in some cases, we're asking you to answer yes, somewhat, not especially, or no. And in some cases, we're asking you to answer more qualitative feedback by providing comments. And again, this is one of the most valuable parts of the contest to students. We give them all of the judges' feedback afterwards anonymously, regardless of how well they do in the contest. And most teams report using that feedback heavily as they move their idea forward. So as thoughtful and insightful as you can provide, they do really value your feedback. So you'll notice, actually I'll show you a quick example. Once you answer some of these questions, you'll notice on the bottom that there's an overall quality score, and this is automatically calculating the score out of 100. For those of you who were judging in the pre-proposal round, we had a few glitches with this, but just a quick note for everybody that is fixed and it should be out of 100, and you don't actually need to worry about that box. It will be automatically calculating in the background. Once you have started your scorecard, there will be an option for you to save it as a draft. You can't see that right here since I haven't filled it out, but there will be a green button right next to submit that says save draft, and you're welcome to do that at any point throughout the review period, which ends on April 6th. When you are ready, you can go ahead and hit submit, and that will notify us that you've reviewed it, but it won't actually revoke your ability to go back and edit it should you decide to. If you return to your listing page, if you have submitted these proposals, the button here, instead of being green, it will be red and it will say done. And like I said, that just gives us an indicator of where you are in your process. You're still able to go make edits if you choose to. And I think that's mostly it for the WiseHive platform. If you have any questions throughout the process, or if you encounter any challenges, you're welcome to email us at bigideas@berkeley.edu, and we'll either talk you through it or follow up with the folks at WiseHive to make sure that they get addressed. Okay. So a few frequently asked questions. Many of you who judged in the pre-proposal round may have actually already seen some of the finalists' proposals in their earlier version. A couple of notes on that. One is that their ideas may have changed drastically from the first round. They've been working hard with their mentors and to incorporate your feedback and anything they've learned between now and then. So be sure to still read them in detail, and also be as unbiased as you possibly can for those which you have read before and those which you haven't. Again, just one more time emphasizing how important the confidentiality and privacy of the teams is. So please be sure that you're not sharing detailed information about their ideas without the team's consent. And if you would like to reach out to teams to offer resources or support, or ask them if you can make introductions or things like that, we just ask that you do that through us, and we can get their approval and permission and connect you with them. Again, there's a strict 15-page limit, but teams are invited to include appendices if they choose to. So you're welcome to look to those appendices for more information, but you aren't required to consider them in your actual scoring. And then again, we would love to welcome you to all of our final round events. You'll hear from us many times over the course of the next few months with invitations. They're really, really a fun round of events, and we would love to see you there. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us again at bigideas@berkeley.edu, or our phone number there. We'll send all of this information out by email afterwards. We also have hundreds of t-shirts that we'd love to share with you here in the Big Ideas office. So if you'd like some swag, you can let us know that too. Otherwise, we cannot thank you enough for participating in the contest. We really appreciate your support, and we know that the student teams do. And we're happy that you're a part of the contest this year. So thank you. And with that, we will drop off. Thanks, everyone.